has been hip checked, poked in the eye, and struck in the throat during games. The incidents go far beyond routine.
For years, Cathy Engelbert has steered the WNBA in the wrong direction, and now the United States Congress has officially reached its limit. Caitlin Clark has been hip-checked, poked in the eye, struck in the throat, and targeted on the court in ways every person watching this video knows are not basketball plays. Yet the response from the league office has been, to be completely precise, absolute, deliberate, gutless silence until now. A large group of House Republicans has formally sent a letter to the WNBA commissioner demanding answers while invoking the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The federal government is now involved, and Cathy Engelbert can no longer hide behind a press release. Welcome back to Rim Run, where today we're pulling the curtain back on this cover-up and breaking down the exact moment the WNBA lost control of its own narrative. Before we dive into the full story, you need to understand one important thing. This letter from Congress did not appear out of nowhere. For months, I have been tracking this pattern closely. I covered the Alyssa Thomas incident the day the suspension was announced, and I told you then that one game was not a punishment, it was a signal. A signal that the league does not take player safety seriously. A signal that the people running this league are more focused on protecting the culture inside that locker room than protecting the player driving most of its revenue and viewership. I said it clearly in that video. If the league failed to course correct immediately, the government would step in. Go back and watch that video because every word of that prediction has now come true. The receipts are waiting in the comments of that upload. Stay with me because around the 9-minute mark, I'll break down the 5 specific things that are about to happen next, and no other channel covering this story is going into this level of detail. Now, let's put the entire picture together because you deserve the full context, not the 30-second clip, not the sanitized ESPN version, not the version that protects the league, but the real story. Here's what actually happened. The situation escalated when a large coalition of House Republicans formally contacted WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, announcing they were calling on the Department of Justice and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to investigate the WNBA. The issue centers on what the letter describes as a documented pattern of repeated physical aggression directed at Caitlin Clark across multiple seasons. It points to incidents that go well beyond routine physical play, including hip checks, a finger to the eye, a fist to the throat, and a knee to a private area of her body. According to the letter, these are the documented incidents specifically cited. It also states plainly that the WNBA's officiating has too often failed to address these unacceptable incidents and hold players accountable. Let that sink in for a moment. A congressional letter is, by implication, calling out the officiating, not a fan on social media or a podcast host, but a formal document signed by members of the largest caucus on Capitol Hill, the Republican Study Committee, and addressed directly to the league's commissioner. The letter goes even further by referencing a player who appeared to endorse violence against Caitlin Clark in a social media post. The letter also references a player who liked a fan's social media post suggesting something violent toward Caitlin Clark and appeared to endorse it. That caught the attention of lawmakers and was included in the letter, making it part of the official record. Take a moment to think about that. The letter then demands answers to 3 direct questions by July 24th. First, what review process is in place for physical hostility and violence on the court? Second, how will players be held accountable for overly aggressive actions during games, including those involving Caitlin Clark? Third, what steps are being taken to protect WNBA players from online harassment and off-court threats? The letter closes with a pointed statement, as the commissioner of the WNBA, you should do the same. Then the story took another turn that drew even more attention. President Trump commented publicly, describing Caitlin Clark as a young, wonderful basketball player. He said she was treated rather rough, called it a much different kind of event, and described it as a pretty bad event. The President of the United States is now on record characterizing Clark's treatment in the WNBA that way. That is not the kind of attention any sports commissioner wants, nor is it the type of conversation a league office hopes to see reach that level. As the discussion spread, The most recent Alyssa Thomas incident gained massive attention across major television networks. The story became impossible to contain, and even ESPN could not shield the league from the growing spotlight. For more than 2 years, media outlets that critics say have been shielding this culture could no longer keep the story contained. This time, it spread everywhere, and that wave of attention is what supporters of the letter argue pushed Congress to act. If you think this congressional letter is being overstated, don't just take my word for it. Listen to what Representative August Pfluger put directly into writing for the WNBA commissioner. Those are not comments from social media or opinions from a television panel. They are statements included in an official letter sent by a member of Congress. The language leaves little doubt about the seriousness of the concerns being raised, setting the stage for the next part of this story.
Support any appropriate investigation by the Department of Justice, Department of Labor, and the EEOC. If true, such conduct could...
The concerns were put in writing, backed by signatures and accompanied by referrals to federal agencies. Think about what that means. An official congressional letter states that Caitlin Clark was hip-checked, poked in the eye, and struck in the throat during games, arguing these incidents go far beyond routine physical play. Those claims are now part of a federal document and an official government record. They cannot simply be explained away or erased. The letter has been signed, submitted, and includes a response deadline of July 24th. It's frustrating because this is not a new issue. According to this narrative, it has been developing over 3 seasons, while those leading the league had multiple opportunities to address it but repeatedly failed. That brings us to the larger point. The congressional letter may be the headline, but the deeper story is what supporters describe as a pattern of institutional failure that led to this moment. Let's break it down, starting with what is described as the first major failure. The argument centers on the Alyssa Thomas suspension, which critics viewed as the league's biggest mistake. A 1-game suspension followed an incident in which Thomas was accused of putting her fist into Caitlin Clark's throat and driving her knee into Clark's body. According to this account, anyone familiar with basketball would view it as more than routine contact or a hard foul, but as deliberate physical aggression. The WNBA handed down a 1-game suspension. 1 game. I have been documenting this for months, and I told you the moment that suspension dropped, the government was about to get involved, because a 1-game suspension does not flex any muscle. It does not send a message to the rest of the league. It does not protect players on the court. It signals to every player that you can do something like that and miss 1 game. That is the message the league sent, and Congress read it loud and clear. That is not player safety. That is sabotage. Now comes the pattern of behavior. Let me be clear with you. This is not an isolated incident. The congressional letter specifically references incidents across multiple seasons. Hip checks, eye pokes, throat strikes. These are not one-time events. They are documented, repeated occurrences captured on camera, shared millions of times, and discussed on nearly every sports platform except those still running cover for the league. Beyond the physical incidents on the court, there is also the social media dimension, a player appearing to endorse violence against Clark by liking a fan's post suggesting something harmful toward her. That is 3 categories of documented behavior. Physical aggression on the court across multiple seasons. Inadequate officiating, along with social media posts appearing to endorse hostility, became the 3rd category of concern. 3 separate tracks of the same problem. 3 times the league had the opportunity to draw a hard line. 3 times it chose the path of least resistance. 3 times Caitlin Clark paid the price. Next comes what this argument describes as enabler complicity. Think about this, because it is the part many television discussions avoid. According to this perspective, the league office did not fail alone. The media covering the WNBA has been running interference on this story for more than 2 seasons. I have made videos on this channel documenting how certain outlets framed these incidents as routine physical play, competitive basketball, or simply part of the game. Yet each time, the footage told a different story. You can watch the NBA, college basketball, or any level of competitive basketball and recognize the difference between a hard foul and a deliberate act of aggression. The distinction is not subtle. It is visible. Even so, The media outlets expected to hold the league accountable chose to protect the narrative instead. ESPN could not shield the league from this one. They tried, they failed, and remained silent when they could have spoken. The receipts are in my last 3 videos on this topic. Watch them back to back for the full timeline. The fourth point is the cost to Caitlin Clark. This is the part I want everyone watching to consider because it often gets lost in the political noise. Caitlin Clark is described as a generational basketball talent and the most important player to enter the WNBA in terms of viewership growth, revenue impact, and cultural reach. Since entering the league, she has been hip-checked, poked in the eye, struck in the throat, targeted on the court, and had a player appear to endorse violence against her on social media. According to this account, the league's response was a 1-game suspension and silence. She has dealt with all of that while continuing to perform at an elite level, carrying the league's ratings and serving as the face of its growth. She has done it without the protection of the institution responsible for every player on the court. She has done it while much of the media covering the league looked the other way. She has done it while the commissioner issued what critics describe as toothless punishments and moved on. According to this perspective, that is what Caitlin Clark's prime years in the league have been spent navigating. The argument concludes that this is unacceptable. Now comes the next key moment, where the federal government made clear what the consequences of inaction could look like.
Fortunately for them, this last incident went mega nuclear viral across all television.
Let me repeat that carefully because of what it means. If discrimination or retaliation is occurring and creating a hostile work environment, Congress supports any appropriate investigation by the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, and the EOC. It further states that, if true, such conduct could constitute a violation of federal civil rights laws. Those are significant words. According to this argument, Congress is telling Cathy Engelbert that what has been happening inside the league may amount to a federal civil rights violation. I cannot stand it when institutions protect insiders at the expense of the players on the court, and this perspective argues that is exactly what has happened over the past 3 seasons. 3 seasons of documented incidents, 3 seasons of inadequate responses, 3 seasons of media cover, and now the consequences have arrived. 3 weeks ago, I said this escalation was coming. The footage and that prediction are in my video from that week. Go watch it if you missed it. Every one of those predictions came true, and the receipts are in the comments of that upload. Now we're about to reach the part of this video that other channels covering this story are not discussing. Before I give my verdict, I want you to hear one final clip because it shows the moment this story became impossible for the league to contain.
Been hip-checked, poked in the eye, and struck in the throat during games. The incidents go far beyond routine.
Everything shifted in that moment. The latest incident spread across television networks and drew so much attention that it could no longer remain inside the usual media bubble. According to this argument, even ESPN could not shield the league, and once that protection disappeared, congressional action became inevitable. The league lost its media shield, and Congress stepped in. Now here are my 5 predictions. Save this video and come back later to see how they hold up. Prediction 1. Cathy Engelbert's job security. If she remains WNBA commissioner through the end of this year without introducing a stronger disciplinary framework and issuing a formal response to this congressional letter, the pressure could grow from a letter into a congressional hearing. A hearing with cameras, media coverage, and video of the incidents presented before Congress could become a defining moment. I have already said Engelbert's position becomes difficult to maintain if she does not respond with clear, documented policy changes before July 24th. If nothing meaningful changes and she is still in the role by year's end, come back to this video and challenge my prediction. Prediction 2. Caitlin Clark's next move. I believe she will continue performing at an elite level while allowing the institutional fallout to unfold around her without becoming part of the political debate. That has been her pattern. She plays, performs, and lets her game speak for itself. As this story develops, I believe the contrast between her approach and those accused of targeting her will become even more noticeable. Watch what happens on the court over the next month. Prediction 3. The league's disciplinary response. I believe the WNBA will announce some type of enhanced disciplinary framework before the July 24th deadline. According to this view, the league has little choice because the congressional letter demands a response. Watch how it is presented because the league is expected to frame it as a proactive initiative instead of a direct response to congressional pressure. The goal will be to stay ahead of the narrative. The real question is whether the new policy has meaningful enforcement or becomes another one-game suspension-level response wrapped in official language. I expect an announcement, but I also believe the substance will be insufficient, leading to another round of scrutiny. Prediction 4 focuses on media and political attention. The expectation is that the story will grow larger when a major national outlet publishes a full investigative report on the culture inside the WNBA, particularly regarding the treatment of Caitlin Clark over the past 3 seasons. The viral attention beyond ESPN's coverage is expected to push the story further into the mainstream. According to this prediction, outlets that have held back on reporting parts of the story will begin publishing now that the congressional letter has created a news angle that is difficult to ignore. Watch the coverage over the next 2 weeks. With President Trump publicly calling it a pretty bad event and Congress now formally involved, this story has expanded beyond the sports media landscape and entered a new level of public scrutiny. Prediction 5 is that the WNBA will finish this season facing an institutional crisis that leads to meaningful structural changes during the off-season. According to this argument, the congressional letter, the presidential comments, the viral incidents, and the social media post referenced in the federal document create a broader crisis rather than a single news cycle. The off-season is expected to bring serious discussions about officiating standards, disciplinary policies, and the league's culture. Save this video and come back at the end of the season to see how these predictions turned out. Before we wrap up, here's one final thought. Caitlin Clark is still on the court, still performing at a high level, still the WNBA's most watched player, and still proving she can handle the pressure. According to this perspective, she has continued despite what critics describe as inadequate protection from the institution responsible for player safety and a media environment that minimized her experience. She is still competing and still winning while the institution critics say failed to protect her is now facing scrutiny. Drop your opinion in the comments. Do you believe Cathy Engelbert's handling of Caitlin Clark reflects a deliberate institutional choice shaped by the league's culture, or a failure of leadership from a commissioner who underestimated how serious the situation would become? Pick a side and explain your reasoning. I'm on record predicting that the WNBA will issue a formal disciplinary policy response before July 24th, but that it will not go far enough and will trigger another round of congressional scrutiny. If I'm right, come back and let me know. If I'm wrong, call me out. Share this video with anyone who believes these incidents are simply part of physical basketball. Coming up next on Rim Run, we'll break down the complete timeline of every documented incident involving Caitlin Clark across all 3 seasons, compare those moments with the congressional letter, and examine why they became part of the federal record. If you haven't subscribed yet, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.
Any appropriate investigation by the Department of Justice, Department of Labor, and the EEOC, if true, such conduct for them, this last incident went mega nuclear viral across all television.